Wisdom Wednesday. Today's topic is coping in times of stress, and this is part 1, where we're focusing on our stressed children. So if you're listening to this as a recording or you're listening to this live, please make sure you share this with other adults in your circles, so that we can do a good job of supporting our children in this challenging time. We're feeling challenged, and when we're feeling challenged, it's hard for us to support the children. So the current affairs that are streaming through our news feeds are also streaming through the news feeds of our children. They're being affected by this directly from that, and indirectly from experiencing stressed and overwhelmed adults around them, whether it's as parents, carers, teachers, other relatives. And we can do better, and we can do well at helping our children navigate this resiliently, because what they are witnessing through the social media and the news, seeing children like themselves in very distressing situations, is very distressing for them. It really has them questioning their existence, questioning, why is this allowed to happen? How can this happen? Seeing kids their own age going through what they're going through. So one thing to be aware of is how much our children are experiencing that, and realizing that it's not healthy for us or them to be immersed in those images constantly. Yes, it's important for us to be aware. Yes, it's very important for us to do our bit, but to be constantly immersed in very traumatic, graphical pictures and videos, and very heightened emotional posts and reports, only serves to activate our emotional state to a point that we can become dysfunctional, emotionally dysfunctional, and therefore that affects our children. And our children also have the same kind of experience from witnessing this type of content constantly. So it's really important that we're taking note ourselves of how much we're taking in, how much time we're spending on that. In fact, we had this conversation with our graduates from our certification program in our professionals meeting. And one of the mums was saying that her daughter said to her, "Mum, what's going on? I see you're on your phone all the time and your eyes are red all the time." Kids are seeing, they're noticing, and it's distressing them. Even if they're not seeing what we're seeing, that's distressing them seeing us distressed. So this is the first thing, is the amount of content that we and they are witnessing, and being aware of that, and being aware of the effect it's having on us. Many of the parents amongst our certified mentors acknowledged that they have had moments in the last couple of weeks where they realized they weren't showing up in the best way they could be as parents for their kids, because of the heightened emotional state they were in from what was going on. That inability to tolerate more, the inability to be for our kids. So this is the very first point that I want people to be aware of. The other thing that I would like you to be aware of is that here in Australia, for instance, and so it's possibly in other parts of the Western world particularly, but not just in the West, there's heightened Islamophobia. And it's 4 times the amount of registrations of these incidents at this present time. So if we have children that are in public schools, if we are walking around in our hijabs, kids in public schools and Muslim women out and about are the primary targets. And this doesn't help our kids feel safe. It doesn't help us feel safe. And when we don't have that sense of security and that sense of safety, again, we behave in a way that can be detrimental to our kids because we're in a state of fear. So again, it's about being reflective and understanding that that might be what's going on for me right now. And the result of this being that, again, our Muslim kids, particularly those in the West, start questioning their identity and where they fit in, especially where they may be witnessing the media saying that, you know, Muslims are not the good people in this scenario. There's a lot of bias in the mainstream media. And we need to be able to speak to them wisely, calmly, without the emotion, to help them understand that not everything out there is the truth, and that they don't have to buy into everything that is said out there. And that, yes, of course, these things that are being shared are making our lives more difficult, but that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with us, and helping our children realize that it is knowing that Allah is there, that knowing that Allah knows everything, knowing that Allah has a greater plan. Because there's a lot of questioning, you know, how can this be happening? A lot of people, even adults, Muslim adults, doubting Allah from what they're seeing. And this is just an incorrect perception of Allah and an incorrect perception of what is going on. And it's really important, if you're having those doubts, that you first get support before you support your kids, and then support your kids around those doubts. Because those doubts are our downfall. All power and might is with Allah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the all-wise. And there is wisdom in what is happening. And we can't see that wisdom if we're caught up in the devastation of it, if we're caught up in the emotion of it. And we can become doubtful, and we can lose our connection with Allah. And we then become destabilized emotionally and spiritually. And we're unable to regulate ourselves and stay on track and stay connected to Allah. This weakens us as an ummah, and we need to be strong as an ummah. One of the most beautiful things I see out of this is how connected we all are across the globe. That we are all, yes, feeling the pain together. But we can't allow that pain to make us dysfunctional. We can't allow that pain to prevent us from being the parents that our children need, the educators that our children need if you're a teacher, the relative, friend, carer that our children need. Because our children are vulnerable, and their world view is being shaped through these experiences. And we have an opportunity to help shape this in a way where there's reliance, tawakkul in Allah, where there's consciousness, taqwa of Allah. And we're capable of creating that environment of tarbiyah, nurturing the fitrah of our children, when we ourselves are grounded, when we ourselves are in a state of taqwa, tarbiyah, and tawakkul. So I'm reaching out today because we can cope through this. There is a greater wisdom. There are, yes, I was going to say that there's so many beautiful things that can be seen happening out of this, because for the last more than, many decades, a dehumanization of the people of Palestine. People are starting to see the human. We're starting to see the tables turn. We're starting to see that they've gone too far now, and people are starting to question it. And yes, it's tragic what is happening, but there is still wisdom in it. And we won't be able to see it. That's what I was saying. We won't be able to see it when we're in our emotional state. So what I have done is opened up my calendar to speak to anyone who is struggling to get into that grounded state, struggling to be the parent, teacher, relative, carer of children that they know they need to be, struggling to get themselves out of the emotional state that they found themselves in, finding themselves dysfunctional in this difficult time. And there's a link, you'll see it scrolling across the screen, weareallok.com. If you go to that page, you can reach out through that page for a call with me where we can unpack that and see if we can get you back to that grounded state, back connected with Allah, connected in yourself, present in this moment, and able to function so that our kids can be okay. This is really important. We get caught up in the concept that, what can we do? There's nothing specifically I can do on the ground in the moment. But there are things I can do on the ground in this moment in my world. And one of them is to not actually allow my devastation of the oppression that we're witnessing become me oppressing the young ones in my world. That's what I understand. Unfortunately, oppression breeds oppression, hurt breeds hurt, and we want to stop that and not allow ourselves to be a vehicle of that. So that's why I'm reaching out today. And over the next Wednesdays, we will go through coping in times of stress. And each week I will address a different area that I see as being an issue. But for today, the focus is on our children, because they become the collateral damage of our emotional state if we're not being careful. There's too much collateral damage already. Don't let us be creating more collateral damage because we're not taking care of our own emotional and spiritual well-being. Book in a time with me, and I look forward to speaking to whoever needs this support. I'm going to sign off now. Know that there is hope in Allah. Know that there is a way forward. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala never burdens us with more than we can bear. And the answer lies that in the remembrance of Allah, the hearts find peace. So if you want that peace, I can help you find it, inshallah. See the link on the screen, weareallok.com. Book in, and I'll talk to you soon, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.